Well, I think we can go ahead and get started. I don't see anybody else in the waiting room. So just a quick introduction. My name is Joe Mikesell. I'm a program manager at Shunpike. I have been with Shunpike for the last 2.5 years, and I was a part of seeing the 2022 onboarding of this generous grant from ArtsWA at Shunpike. And I'm very excited to get to know you today and to tell you a little bit more about how we can help to build capacity in your organization. I'm going to let James take it away, who will run the first half of the presentation, and then I will run the second half to tell you a little bit more about fiscal sponsorship, and then we'll have time at the very end for Q&A. So please feel free to either put your questions in the chat and we'll track those and address them towards the end, or when we get to the Q&A portion, you can just raise your hand and we will call you out first come, first serve style. All right, thanks so much, James.
Hi, everybody. I'm James. I'm a program manager in the fiscal sponsorship program for Shunpike. And a little bit about me. I have a background in a variety of things, including audio recording, audio production, and design. I dabble a little bit of making weird and strange sounds with instruments that some might call music, but not very musical, lots of weird stuff. And I like to tinker. I have come from a family of creators, although for the last 8 or 9 years, I've been doing more kind of corporate work, and I'm excited to bring that over to Shunpike and kind of start taking steps back towards the arts and supporting the arts. So a little bit, if you haven't had a chance yet, like just say, go ahead and add in a quick intro about yourself and who you are into the meeting chat, and I'll tell you a little bit about Shunpike. So Shunpike is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we use that's a federal tax status, and that allows us to act as a fiscal sponsor. And we'll get into a lot of details later, but on a high level, what that means is that that allows us to kind of umbrella other arts organizations into our 501c3 status and allow those groups to collect tax-deductible donations. It also gives those groups the ability to apply for grants that would typically only be available to 501c3s. So we've been offering this fiscal sponsorship service since 2003, and we do a variety of other things, but that's our largest program. Some of the other things we do are the Artists of Color Expo and Symposium that we call ACES. We facilitate the studio at 2 and 2U in downtown Seattle. And then we also run the Amazon Artist in Residence program. We have a storefront art exhibition that we've been running since 2010. And that kind of makes up the kind of portfolio of the things that Shunpike does in Washington State. So well, real quick here, what we're going to talk about today is fiscal sponsorship and what it is. We're going to talk about some of the criteria that makes you eligible for fiscal sponsorship. We'll talk about the how that relates to, the relationship between ArtsWA and Shunpike. And then we'll open it up for, and of course, the grant process. And then, of course, we'll go into some Q&A. So what is fiscal sponsorship? Like I mentioned before, it's a 501c3 umbrella that allows you to raise tax-deductible donations. That also means that we kind of act a bit like your bank. So we're going to disperse funds to you. We'll handle the funds that are coming to you are actually going to come through Shunpike. And whenever you do receive a donation or a grant, we notify you about that. On a weekly basis, you can withdraw funds, and what that looks like is you'll submit something called a check request. And as long as it's by a deadline on Tuesday, then we'll be dispersing those funds within that week. So I'm sorry, let me recalibrate here. With fiscal sponsorship with Shunpike, you'll also receive a monthly profit and loss statement, which we'll call a P&L statement, and you can expect to get that within 3 weeks after the close of the month. It usually takes around that amount of time for us to reconcile all of the bank statements, so that's where the the little delay is there. But you can expect to get that statement on a month, every month. Although we give that P&L statement to you on a monthly basis, you can at any time contact us, contact your program manager. It'll be either myself, Joe, or Rachel on this call, and ask for your available balance. So the P&L statement comes out once a month, but if you ever need to know what your balance is, we're just a quick email away for something with a shorter turnaround time. When you are fiscally sponsored with a Shunpike, you won't actually have your own bank account, but we use something called a fund code. So when we do receive that donation or those grant funds, we code those funds to your specific group. And of course, in that way, you wouldn't necessarily be going to a bank account to make a withdrawal. You'll be submitting that check request to us. So fiscal, that's what is fiscal sponsorship. So let's talk about what it isn't. Shunpike isn't going to be fundraising on your behalf. We're not a granting entity. We're not going to be giving you tax advice or legal advice, because I'm not a CPA or a lawyer. And we're not going to handle marketing for you. We're not going to help you apply for 501c3 status. And we also aren't going to advance you funds. We'll talk about why that's important here in just a second. But the main takeaway here is that you will still be the leader of your group. You will be managing your group, your programs, and your projects, not Shunpike. We kind of are going to be handling more of the back end administrative side of things. When I want to double back and talk about the advancement of funds. If you've applied for some grants before that work in this way, this will be familiar to you, but many require you to make the spend first and then come and provide the documentation to be reimbursed for your expenses. So if, for example, you are awarded, just for an easy number, $1,000 or granted $1,000, Shunpike cannot advance you $1,000 in order to make that spend. You do need to make that spend first, even if you have received the grant, and we can disperse funds that are already in your account. So if Shunpike received the $1,000, then it's in your account and we will let you know, and that will be a part of your available or requestable balance. But if it works in a way where you get notified that you received $1,000, but you haven't actually, those funds haven't been sent to you, or in this case to Shunpike, then we cannot advance it to you in it before actually receiving the funds. So I hope that that part is clear. Eligible. How do you become eligible for fiscal sponsorship? So the main thing is that you're aligned with Shunpike's mission. And what that means is that, what Shunpike is all about is supporting the arts, advancing arts and culture in Washington State. So if you are aligned with that mission, empowering artists, then that's thing one. We're all about promoting the arts and equitable access to vital services to help you do your art. Of course, I've said it several times now, Washington State, you do need to be based in Washington State. And you need to have a clear community benefit or public outcome. And what that means is, fiscal sponsorship isn't going to cover your private studio practice where you paint in your studio and then sell your work. Like this, there needs to be something that has a clear, demonstrable impact, positive impact on the community in order for it to be fall under that fiscal sponsorship umbrella. In other words, nonprofit in nature. We also require a budget minimum of $3,500 of income in a year. And as you see there on the slide, we don't curate your work, we facilitate your work. Up next, I am going to hand it over to Joe to take over tell you about the comprehensive level of fiscal sponsorship.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that, James. And apologies in advance. I have a snoring dog next to me. So if you hear his snoring, know that that's what it is. So let's talk a little bit about your fiscal sponsorship level. So when you come to Shunpike, as James said, we don't curate, we facilitate. And in order to do that, we give you the following services. So first and foremost, we extend our 501c3 to you. And we are able to do this because your mission, of course, falls within, or your eligibility falls within these categories that James was previously speaking about. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to fundraise and get nonprofit dollars for your organization and your arts mission. So we provide fundraising eligibility to you and support for those fundraising efforts. We do this in a number of ways, but first and foremost, we do. Can we see the dog? He's sleeping. I have to let him lie, right? So we do this by providing you with a customizable online platform to receive credit card donations. This is going to be your most immediate way of getting funds into your account. And you know, as James said, there is oftentimes a delay from the time in which you're awarded funding and when you can then obtain that funding through a reimbursable process. So we're trying to give you tools in which you can create more income for your group so that all of this isn't coming out of your pocket straight away. So with this customizable online platform, you're able to get credit card donations. Of course, people can send us checks for your organization and we will process them and put them into your account. We also accept wires and gifts of stock, things like that. We'll also then turn around and provide tax-deductible receipts to your donors. This is really far and away one of the most appealing reasons to be fiscally sponsored. So once you're able to get those tax-deductible receipts, we will mail them out for any transactions that come into your account. And then we'll handle all of your bookkeeping. This is full cycle bookkeeping, and you know, we do operate on a cash basis, so we don't recognize the income until it hits your account. We recognize the expense when it has left your account. And then we handle your tax filing. So you will not get your own organizational 990. Oftentimes when you're applying for grants, they will ask you for a 990. But what happens is that your activity is bundled into Shunpike's activity. So know that your financial statements will be the primary way in which you will communicate your expenses and your profit when applying for grants. That's through our financial reporting. We do supply you with a profit and loss statement that will be available to you once a month. And then, of course, we will pay artists and vendors directly for you at the comprehensive level. This means you're going to fill out a check request, provide us with a W-9 to your payee, and we're going to issue those checks and directly mail them on your behalf. And why we do this is because we can then send out annual 1099s for all of your payees at the end of the year. This is something that normally you would need to manage, but we will manage that for you. If we pay a payee over $600 in a year, we then send them a 1099. Now, we're also going to maintain and administer your city business license, as well as your state nonprofit incorporation status. So we do need to work with organizations who are incorporated as nonprofit corporations in Washington State. If you are another type of organization, if you've already incorporated yourself in Washington State, please do let us know. There's some that we can't work with, specifically LLCs. We would need to convert your business type from an LLC to a nonprofit corporation. But if you come on board to Shunpike, we're happy to facilitate that and do it for you. So what does this all cost? So there is a 10% cost share on all of your income. This is both earned and in contributed. And I will just take a little pause here to say that Arts Fund has been incredibly generous in their partnership with Shunpike to offer this funding to your organization, or this opportunity for funding. And as a part of that, you will not pay the $150 establishment fee, nor will you be charged the 10% cost share allocation for this specific grant. That does not carry through to other grants, but I really want to sort of highlight why does it cost 10%? And the reason for that is that Shunpike is also a nonprofit, and we don't break even in fiscal sponsorship, but it's a part of our mandate and it's a part of our mission's work to provide a platform for artists to build capacity and to grow and strengthen the arts and culture landscape of Washington State. So we provide this as a service, and we do need for your group to contribute to running this program, and that is through the 10% cost share. So if we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about the Emerging Grant and what that looks like, because it is a combined process with Arts Washington. So you're going to apply for the Emerging Grant through Arts Washington's website, and you will have the opportunity to indicate that you want fiscal sponsorship as a part of that application. You'll click a button that says, yes, please start the process for me with Shunpike, and that's going to ask if you're seeking fiscal sponsorship, and you'll answer the questions where it asks, if you are seeking fiscal sponsorship through Shunpike, please complete these questions. Once you've finished that, ArtsWA will review your application. They're going to decide if to award you funding. And then they'll forward your application to Shunpike, where it will be reviewed by our staff and approved by our board. So ArtsWA will let you know about your funding and when you've been approved. And then what will happen is we will send you a contract. You're going to review it. It's the same contract for all of our comprehensive fiscal sponsored groups at this level. Unfortunately, we cannot edit or make changes to that contract, so please know that in advance. You're going to go ahead and make your initial deposit. And this is just a way of funding the account to seed it to move forward with your organization. This is also the funding we will use in case you need certain things like to be converted or to be incorporated in Washington State. If you need a city business license, these are the funds in which we use in order to provide that to you. And then you're going to attend an onboarding meeting that takes place April 1st of 2024. Oh, that's this year. Wow, so fast. That meeting is at 5 o'clock, and it will be conducted over Zoom. You will essentially meet all of your cohort for the ArtsWA grant in that time period. And then all three of us, of course, will be present, myself, Rachel, and James, to help guide you in that process. And then afterwards, you will start spending and fundraising, essentially. So you're going to attend our arts business clinics. This is a service that we're offering to you to help you to sort of guide you and create a path for you to move forward. We have a lot of different topics. I think last year we did strategic planning. We had one on accessibility within art nonprofit organizations. We also provide, grant writing, arts business clinics. So there's a lot of different opportunities. I think we even did branding and social media. There's a lot of opportunities for you to learn and grow within the program. And then at the end, you're going to look at renewing when that grant period has run its course. And you'll have fiscal sponsorship for a year through the Emerging program, which is the same as the grant period, but then you can renew your Shunpike services or continue, or you can close your account. If you choose to renew, you'll be considered a normal Shunpike client, and then you'll need to pay your annual maintenance fee at the time that you renew. That maintenance fee is the same as the establishment fee, $150. If you do want to close, it's important to note that all remaining funds in your account will need to be distributed to an arts-focused 501c3 nonprofit in Washington State. The nature of these funds are that they come to us restricted for those specific purposes, and they carry that restriction throughout the lifetime of their existence with Shunpike. So unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to write you a check unless you became your own 501c3. And in that case, congrats. Okay, so just to go over the next slide, this is really just to reiterate the waived costs. So for emerging grant recipients, Shunpike's going to waive the $150 annual maintenance fee for the first year for services. And this is really, sorry, for organizations that are new to Shunpike. So if you are not coming on board through the Emerging Grant, if you already have fiscal sponsorship, unfortunately won't be able to do this. However, the 10% fiscal sponsorship cost share on the Emerging Grant reimbursement, or I don't know entirely if that sentence makes sense to me, but the 10% fiscal sponsorship cost share will be waived on the Emerging Grant reimbursement funds for all groups. Just a little note, this isn't going to apply to any other income that you bring into Shunpike during that time period. This waiver is only for the ArtsWA Emerging Grant. Okay, so the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about the intake process. So the detail here is that you'll be accepted, you're going to review and sign your contract, pay your establishment fee, you're going to make your initial deposit. So this initial deposit, again, is the seed for you to begin with us. It is a minimum of $100. That is what we use to, it's sort of a good faith way of getting our relationship started. But it's not ours. We don't take that opening deposit. That money is going to remain in your account for your use. Something that's important to state is that we will not take the 10% cost share allocation for any of these funds of your opening deposit up to $2,500. So you should make that deposit all in one lump sum, and up to $2,500 of that deposit, we will not take our 10%. Anything beyond that, we do. We understand that, you know, you've probably done a little bit of work before coming on board with us, and we want to make sure that that stays in your pocket. And then, of course, you're going to attend an onboarding, the April 1st onboarding. This whole process normally takes about 8 weeks for this to happen. It may vary slightly depending upon where we're at in the review process, but generally this is what the expectation is. Okay, so that's a lot of information to digest, and I know there's going to be a lot of very specific questions, so we're here to answer those. I will say that if you have specific questions about fiscal sponsorship, this is the place to ask those questions. You can also email fiscalsponsorship@shunpike.org. And then there's, you'll see on the screen, if you have questions specific to the Emerging Grant, you can contact ArtsWA directly. And we are lucky enough to have them here at the in the webinar with us. So please do ask questions if you'd like to raise hands or put them in the chat. We're here for you.
Okay, we can go ahead and take our first question. I saw a hand raised from Katie.
Yeah, hi. Nice to meet you. This is my first time applying for something like this, and my organization is fairly new. It's a little under a year old. My question is if that initial deposit of $2,500 can come from Arts Washington, or if it needs to come from what we might call $2,500 that belongs to my organization, even though it has not earned that money. So it would be my own.
Sure, that's a good question. I wish that we could work it that way, but because the grant is a reimbursable grant, you won't actually get those ArtWA funds until after you submit for reimbursement, which means that there might be a year that passes between then and now in which we were providing you with fiscal sponsorship. But if we don't have any money in the account, we aren't able to fulfill the services that we would provide to you. So the money cannot come from ArtsWA's grant. It must be funded through other avenues first.
I see a hand raised for Catherine Hunt.
I guess this would be more for ArtsWA. Was that right, Joe, that we can ask questions of either staff?
Sure, they are here if they would like to answer questions. You can certainly ask them or
Okay.
put them in the chat. Yeah.
Okay. Well, a couple things in developing the budget. I wondered if how to estimate the cost of in-kind volunteer labor.
Hi, Catherine. I'm Miguel Guillen.
Hi,
I'm the
Miguel.
program manager. Hi. Um, so yeah, what you do, I mean, it varies a little bit in what your volunteers are doing.
Mhm.
So, volunteers that like collect tickets or do that sort of stuff, usually you want to start the state's minimum wage. But and I don't know why I always forget the name of um, this agency, but the Bureau of, sorry, my internet is really slow. I've been having internet problems, so sorry.
Can paste that link in the chat. So there is a link if you're looking through the application. There's a link to that website, which I'm just looking for right now, that gives you pretty specific calculations that you can do for calculating
Yeah,
in kind.
it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Oh, okay.
So we have a link, and we have it's a long list when you go to that link. So we have it set to come to open right to the arts, but there's base rates for payment for arts jobs. So everything from arts directors, the full gamut. They'll give you the base rate for that. Generally, for executive directors, you usually want to go around $50 an hour. If they're working for free, you work, decide how many hours they work, and then you calculate that. So, what that does is it gives us and the panelists a full picture of just your understanding of what it takes to run your organization.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll look for the link then that Linnea is going to put in. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, I've just put it in the chat.
Okay. I'll try to scare that up. I also wondered if I saw that admin costs were an allowable line item in the budget you'd like us to submit. Are fundraisers, are grant writers considered admin costs?
Linnea, do you know?
Those are allowable. You might be looking at line 14, which is food and drink, which is not allowable for us to be able to
Yeah,
cover.
we absolutely do want to pay. We want to see staff either paid or noted in kind. And so that's anybody that's helping you run your project. We'll call it project right now for the sake of Shunpike because you become a project of Shunpike, but we know that you're a group or an organization.
Yeah, okay, that's really helpful. And I guess one more question and then I'll jump off. Do you look for like a budget where line items are spread over certain things, like a number of things, or just like, boy, we're hoping for 3,000 for a grants writer, or should we mix in printing and other things? How do you think about budgets that you fund?
Yeah, we're looking at you running a small business and that you understand several aspects of what it takes to run it. So the more comprehensive you can be in, and you can do estimates, but the more comprehensive you can be in the way you articulate your budget, is better for the panelist. That's when we have panels, we always have at least one really strong budget hawk. And our panels, we're a state agency. Our panels are the public oversight of our work. So it's the most organic part of it. But one thing we usually know is that there's usually one budget hawk in there that is looking at how organizations are articulating their budgets. So the more you can break it down for the purposes of relating to the panelists, your understanding of what it takes to run your organization, the better.
So then, if I understand you correctly, if you apply for $3,000, you don't have to say what line items that's going to. Is that what you're saying? They're
So
really looking at your overall budget.
yeah, you mean the application budget has all those things broken out for you already. So what are you saying that it has to total $3,000 or
Yeah, I mean,
am I
for
missing something
instance,
here?
yeah,
Mhm.
I guess, well, here in Port Townsend, like the Arts Commission, they want to know if they're going to give money specifically. Are you going to spend that on printing? Or are you going to spend that on um, honorariums for your artists? specifically, what are you going to spend that money on?
We do ask you that. We do
Oh,
ask you
okay.
that. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter to you whether it's spread, you're taking 1,000 here, here, and here.
What matters, the philosophy generally is that folks are getting paid. That's our primary concern at ArtsWA, is that people are getting paid. And then what panelists are really looking for is a comprehension of other things aside from paying people, other expenses, and how well you're, especially for emerging organizations, emerging projects, how well you're appear to be understanding how much things cost generally.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks
So
a
it looks
lot.
like we do have some questions in the chat. And I will say, if you do have grant specific questions, please hold those. We're going to prioritize fiscal sponsorship questions first. You will want to reach out directly to ArtsWA with those questions if
Oh.
they are about a grant. Thank you so much. Okay, so James, I think you were tracking some of the chat questions. I think there was one that came in right before Meanroth, New York, Meanroth Night, sorry, asked, raised their hand. If you could maybe circle back to that, please.
We have one question from Hannah, who's asking if they're not fiscally sponsored through Shunpike, if they can still take advantage of the arts business clinics, or if that's only for fiscally sponsored projects.
That's a good question. Some are available through Shunpike social media. You'll be able to see notifications on those arts business clinics. Some of them are open to the public, but not all of them. So keep your eyes peeled for our social media to get notifications about that. Thanks for asking, Hannah.
Next up, we did have Meanroth 9.
Hi, yeah, thank you. I'm Min Roth. I'm with the Southeast Asian Comedy Collective. We're pretty new to this process in a new organization, and I appreciate. I just want to say thank you again for holding this space and providing all this information for us. It's really helpful. But my question is really, you said that if we're not a nonprofit or a 501(c)(3), then fiscal sponsorship through Shunpike is not available. Just want to clarify that.
I'm sorry, maybe let me make sure that I totally understand your question. So we are the 501(c)(3), and we would provide our 501(c)(3) umbrella to your organization. So there's no expectation for you to have a 501(c)(3). And I'll clarify that there's the federal level of nonprofit, which is what holds 501(c)(3) status and what grants that status to arts nonprofits. And then there's the state level of nonprofit, which essentially is a level of business incorporation that does not grant you the ability to write tax deductible receipts to your donors and does not qualify you for most grants. But it is a type of business structure that we will incorporate you or convert you to in order to identify your business activity as being charitable and public benefit.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because we're not a nonprofit. We're a LLC, and I just want to make sure that we're still eligible, and if not, through Shunpike, and if not, are we eligible through other 501(c) fiscal sponsors? Am I making sense there?
You are. So it depends on what level. So I could go down the rabbit hole with this, but there are 7 different levels of fiscal sponsorship that are offered. Some can work with LLCs, but an LLC at its core is a for-profit type of incorporated corporation. So that is something where in order to give fiscal sponsorship to an org, that org has to have a nonprofit aspect of the work they're doing. Some levels of fiscal sponsorship, it's the entire organization and they just don't want to get their own 501(c)(3). And so we provide that to them. Some have almost entirely for-profit, but there's one little project that is nonprofit in nature. And that project is what they want to qualify for funding for. So there's lots of different levels, but yes and no is my answer.
Okay, and I
really
don't want to take
depends.
too much space, and I could, email you or whatever, but just that was my kind of only question.
Sure. I will say that with the ArtsWA grant, we're only offering comprehensive fiscal sponsorship. So it would need to be that all aspects of your organization are nonprofit in nature to qualify for that level of fiscal sponsorship. But that's not to say that you couldn't create a side project that you're now applying for that doesn't fall under your LLC and has its own business identity that we then incorporate as a nonprofit separately.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Our next hand raise, well, I did see next hand raise from Katie, and if you're having any issues using the actual hand raise function, feel free to just drop your question in the chat. That's totally fine too. But Katie, if you want to go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I didn't know I could ask a follow-up, and I didn't want to take up too much space, but I am curious, and this might be a question just for ArtsWA, but if there is a workaround around the initial 2,500 that's required, and then how soon it's possible to like withdraw from that 2,500, or like how, if a good plan is to like spend that money up front quickly, you know, I'm just wondering like how to make that work best.
There isn't a required 2,500. So
Yeah.
if that helps a little bit, that first 2,500 is kind of it's not a required deposit. If you
So just to pause. No, sorry, just to pause. It is a required deposit, but the minimum is $100 to seed your account. $2,500 is the max that you can put into the account that we will not take the 10% cost share allocation. There's no maximum amount, but the minimum is $100. Apologies if I did not understand that earlier.
No worries. Okay, cool. That is a relief. Thank you.
Our next question was from, so we have some Q&A happening in the chat. So I'll go down to our first unanswered question from Vanessa. Will WA State nonprofits need to maintain a board of directors or advisors to be fiscally sponsored by Shunpike? And that is no. Your group does not need to maintain that.
So that's correct. So at the 501c3 status, you are normally required to have a board of directors, but with fiscal sponsorship, you can have a board, but it's a performatory board. Your actual board would be Shunpike's board.
And our next question is from Janice. Hey, Janice, you're mute. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. No, I've been trying to unmute. And sorry, I'm not able to find that little hand, so I've been raising my hand like this. Old school. So thank you for taking my answer. So as you know, I've sat in on several of these now, and I printed out the ArtsWA pages so I could read them more comprehensively and take notes. And I noticed that who is not eligible, and it says individuals. Now, if we're an emerging organization, I am a person who has a concept that would be a nonprofit larger organization. Does that mean that I have to have more than one person applying with me? Because this has not come up in any of the other conversations that we've had.
For ArtsWA, we consider, we don't fund individual artists. We consider a group to be 3 people.
Okay.
So most people have at least 3 people in their circle that they work with. And if you have 3 folks that you can give titles to, then that would qualify you for our grants.
Great. That's a really important point. And then when we're doing the budget, the emerging grant ranges from 2,000 to 5,000. When I'm doing a budget, are you looking for like a year's budget, which is clearly going to be more than that 5,000 number? Or are you say, how would we spend that $5,000 to start our organization?
Yeah, Janice, we are having a webinar dedicated specifically to our grant on February 20th. Right now, we'd really like to have folks discuss Shunpike's support.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, we have a hand raise from Brissa.
Yeah, I had a question regarding the bank question that I made.
So let's say we already have a bank account and we already have funds in that bank account. Does that mean that those funds would automatically get transferred over to Shunpike? And would we be able to keep our bank account open for when we decide to become independent? Or how does that look?
Well, this is a good question. Yeah. So with comprehensive, we're taking care of all of your tax filings. In order to do that, we do need to have full oversight of your financial activity. So you would not be able to have an external bank account in order to be fiscally sponsored. All of your income would go through Shunpike, and all of your expenses would be checks cut or wires sent by Shunpike. So for that original money that you have in the account, what would need to happen is that you would need to transfer it to Shunpike and close the account until you were ready to spin out and be your own independent organization again. Because our relationship is really one where we are partnering with you. It's not a fee for service kind of situation. We are partners, and you're essentially coming into Shunpike and becoming a program of Shunpike underneath our federal EIN number. So it's I think maybe like one of the easiest ways to, well, this is going to make things a little bit more complex, but if you were an employee at an organization, you wouldn't have a separate bank account for that organization, right? Not to say that you're an employee. We do have a level for that, but this is not that level. Did I make that crystal clear or clear as mud? Okay, thanks.
Well, got another hand raised from Katie, and then after that we'll go over to Rocco.
Rocco can go first.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what are the other levels besides comprehensive that you offer?
Sure. So there's 3 levels total. This is the only level that we offer through this grant, but there is a level called basic, which is available to organizations who essentially are running their own business. They maintain their own licenses, their own permits, but they also do their own taxes. So it's very much separate. This is the level that I was talking about previously, where you know, a for-profit organization with a nonprofit project in that organization can apply for that level of fiscal sponsorship. And then there's complete, which is 2 levels above basic, and the complete level is everything that comprehensive is, but then we also provide an opportunity for W-2 employees, HR, insurance. You essentially become an employee of Shunpike. So those are the 3 levels that we offer. Comprehensive is by far our most popular.
Okay, and then is the 10% the same across the board for the levels?
It is not. For basic, that's 7%, but we don't handle any earned income. We only handle contributed. And that's because we're not doing your taxes, but we're only sort of managing the nonprofit aspect of the work. So we're only taking donations for that nonprofit side. You would have to do, you know, handle any sort of other activity outside of your relationship with Shunpike. And then for complete, the level that has the employees, that is 12%.
Okay, and if you're at the basic level, could an organization then have their own, they would have their own bank account, or would that still be?
They would, because they're doing all their own taxes. So
Okay.
what would happen is you would raise funds for your project with Shunpike, and then we would disperse those funds and send you a 1099. And then you would, of course, handle that 1099 as a for-profit business when filing your taxes.
Okay, and to clarify, for the ArtsWA grant, you're saying that you're not eligible to receive that grant through Shunpike at the basic level?
That's correct.
Okay.
Miguel, I hope you'll clarify if I'm incorrect in that understanding.
No, that's kind of I think that was our agreement in the yep.
Okay, and can you like switch between levels over time as needs change?
You certainly can. You would sign a new contract. You would need to sort of apply to make sure that we could that we could support you at that level. You know, if it would be a sort of a reapplication process. So we can't guarantee that you can switch, but there certainly is opportunity for that, and people have done that. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Got a hand raised from Katie. Back at you.
Cool. Thank you. I guess I'm curious what the process is like if we want to have things like QR codes or some easy, quick digital way for people to donate at live events. Like, how would that work in collaboration with Shunpike?
Oh, we love QR codes. Those are great. Yeah, if you put a QR code anywhere, you know, anywhere that you ask for money for your organization, it is a part of your contract that you agree to put our logo as well as our sort of information saying your organization is fiscally sponsored by Shunpike, and that's how we have transparency about where that money is actually going. So you can do QR codes. Those you can get online. You just need to, you know, enter a URL into a QR code maker, and you know that's something that we don't necessarily have to be a part of. But we can also provide you with a QR code too, if you'd like one directly from us. You know, there's a couple of different options at the comprehensive level where we can support credit card readers on site. We can allow the use of Stripe and Square, but only for earned income. So merchandise sales, ticket sales, things like that. We do have a reader that's proprietary that works with our Click and Pledge site, which is the platform that gives you that online donation page. And you can use that for donations if you ever need donations, you know, when you're in a in situ sort of situation.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
I think that's my last one.
Okay.
So I don't see any other hand raises or questions in the chat. If we missed you, feel free to give us a bump so we can get your question answered.
I'd like to piggyback Rocco again here on that last response. So often there's fees associated with like swiping cards, Square, Stripe. I'm curious if that's true in this case, and also for the proprietary donation swiping system, if there are fees included in that.
Certainly, yeah. So all credit card processors charge a merchant fee. That's, you know, the same at every convenience store, grocery store, and you know we also have that when people are paying with credit cards. So for Click and Pledge, the fee that they charge is 4.95%. That includes their platform fee, their transfer fee when they sweep those funds into your account, as well as their merchant fee, which you know Amex and MasterCard all use. If you choose to use Square or Stripe, it's going to depend on what level of service you sign up for. Of course, if you're using Square or Stripe for your earned income, it's a different platform. You're not using Click and Pledge, so the merchant fee that's associated with those transactions would be specific to your account with Square or Stripe. But we are involved in that. We do become an admin on that Square or Stripe account. We share login information, and you know, we need to make sure that Shunpike's financial information is input into that account, so that when we reconcile it, we can put those funds into your Shunpike account. Okay, looks like we have a new question in the chat.
All right, question from Jovan. If we apply for other grants elsewhere, do we apply using Shunpike's financial information, or do we use our own financial information since we would be fiscally sponsored? It's a great question. For receiving the grant, you will want to provide the bank account information for Shunpike. The grant will come into Shunpike, and of course, both Shunpike will know when we get those funds, and they'll tell us who they're for, and then we would notify you. Oftentimes, you'll receive a notification as well that you received the funds. But that you're awarded the grant rather, and then we'll notify you when those funds hit your account and become available. I was scrolling up because I saw a little bit of a chat back and forth, and I just wanted to check in based on the chat Q&A going on with Lori if you still had any outstanding questions. And it looks like I think we do. So are we able to disperse the profits to the artist and to the staff, or must it be maintained for future project needs?
So that's sort of the difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit, is that in a for-profit situation, any profits can be distributed to the owners of the business. In this case, we are only fiscally sponsoring nonprofit in nature work. So those funds would be maintained to further the organization and grow the organization. But that's not to say that you can't pay yourself for work you've done for the organization. If you have worked and you want to pay yourself for that work, then you absolutely can write a check request and pay yourself a stipend or artists for their work. But profits would not be able to be distributed. That capital does need to stay with Shunpike or whoever, if you choose to cycle out, of course, that would continue. So again, those restricted funds stay restricted to nonprofit use.
And there was one more from Lori, and that's, do we post Shunpike on our literature as our sponsor? And it's a great question. We do have guidelines for how to, where to put the Shunpike logo, and the short part of it is the short answer to the question is yes, and also anywhere where you're asking for funds, we'll want to have the Shunpike logo, and we'll go over the specifics of what that looks like during the onboarding meeting. It'll also be included in a handbook, which we give you before that onboarding process. I don't see any fresh questions in chat or any new hands raised, but feel free to keep them coming if there are more.
Can I just jump in real quick? I really encourage folks to try Shunpike. Remember the purpose here. There's a lot of different kinds of fiscal sponsors out there. What we really like, and one of the reasons we partner with Shunpike is there to do your books, to take care of your finances, to get all that off of your plate so that you can make art. That is the main thing here. You are going to start operating as a nonprofit, and nonprofit doesn't mean you don't get paid or no profit. It means that the profits, the income stays within the organization. So as long as you don't have, like, you're not paying out dividends or anything like that, you're keeping the money within the nonprofit. That's really the primary difference. And what Shunpike and ArtsWA are doing is we're juggling federal and state regulations, right, to be able to provide these services to you. So a lot of the stuff, we would like to do different, but we're just not allowed. And so what we've done here is created a structure where that primary focus of you being able to do your work, not worry about your books as long as possible, as long as you want, and do your work, build your organization, build your output, right? What you are putting out into the world is what's going to make you strongest later. So if you can take something off of your plate by having Shunpike support you in this way, support you in grants, you have the time to make your work, and really, if you're mired in 501c3 processes and things like that, it takes a lot out of you. It really drains a lot of small organizations. So it's really a good deal that we've managed to strike up with Shunpike here. So I'd encourage you to do that. And there is, I think, a little bit of a blurry zone between federal nonprofit and state nonprofit. I encourage anybody that is going to be taking donations and such to register and incorporate with the state as a state nonprofit, and take advantage of that. It also protects you if you move into another arena. Being an incorporated group, gives you a lot more status if there's ever a conflict between you and someone you're working with. So it's really a lot of win-wins here.
Thank you so much for that, Miguel. That was very kind of you to say. Yeah. We deeply appreciate that. There's this interesting study that was done recently about how much time and money do people spend on operating nonprofits, specifically the 501c3 aspect of that. And financially, it ranges between 30 and 10% of your budget. So really a place like Shunpike to come and be able to crowd share these types of services can be really beneficial and can be a great way to get your mind out of the admin and get it back on your program, your art, and really focus in and do what you do best.
Less
So-
worry. Mhm.
Yeah, less worry. We do have time for one last question. Rocco, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, so if I were to sign up to or apply to be with Shunpike, and in the meantime, like apply for or like want to apply for grants that are closing before that kind of 8 weeks you said for onboarding, is there like a decision making amount of time that Shunpike needs to say, okay, you're approved, and then I could then go forward and apply for grants after that point in time?
Generally, once you sign your contract is when you are considered to be fiscally sponsored. But I will say that there are a lot of grants out there who want to see that you are in the application process and they're willing to work with you, that you may not necessarily have everything set in stone. But if you are in the process of getting a fiscal sponsor, oftentimes you can apply, but they won't award you funding until you have solidified that relationship.
Okay, and so can you say kind of what the process looks like, just timeline wise? Like when you sign a contract, does it take 8 weeks before the contract is like set in stone, or is that earlier than that?
It does not. You know, we try to give acceptance notifications as quickly as we can. If you have a situation where you're trying to apply for something very quickly, reach out to us at fiscalsponsorship@shunpike.org and let us know. We can see what we can do to prioritize your application. But, you know, in that sort of week 5, week 4 area is when you're going to sign that contract, and when things will essentially be, you know, the path is clear for you to start fundraising. That's when we can start. That's when we can start accepting funds, is after the contract is signed.
Okay, and then if like right now I just have a sole proprietorship, so I would need to apply for Washington State nonprofit. If I submit that application, could then I start applying with Shunpike, or does that need to be completely finalized at the state level before I can apply with Shunpike?
It does not. We're happy to help you with the incorporation once you've been accepted and after you've signed your contract. Once you put that, when you funded your account, we will then take steps to incorporate you. And we're happy to do that. That's a part of our service. So while it's a good idea to incorporate, you know, regardless, we will help you do that if you are signing on with Shunpike. Yeah, certainly.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's our time. But again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. There's a lot of information to be had about fiscal sponsorship and not a lot of time in which to convey that. And every situation is different. So if you reach out to us, fiscalsponsorship@shunpike.org, go ahead and ask any and all questions. We'll be more than happy to respond to you. Alternately, if you want a copy of this recording, please also reach out to that email and we can provide you with that, as well as a copy of our PowerPoint, if so desired. And again, any emerging grant questions, Linnea and Ashley, they're both here in the chat, and it's been great having them. They'll be able to answer all your questions. Thank you so much, everyone. So excited for this opportunity.